The Effect of Using the iPad for Sight-Word Instruction, a Research Proposal. About the author. My name is Katherine Stehn. I graduated from Loras College in 2013. This is my 4th year of teaching special education. For 2 years, I taught special education, grades kindergarten through 3rd in Crawfordsville, Iowa, in a multi-level special education classroom. This year is my 2nd year of teaching special education in Davenport, Iowa. It's more of a SCI pull-out type of classroom. The title of my paper is The Effect of Using the iPad for Sight-Word Instruction. Problem statement. The purpose of this research was to determine if iPads can increase student learning of sight words and help struggling readers become fluent as measured by DIBELS and a really great read naturally progress monitoring tools. In the researcher's classroom, 95% of the students were not proficient in reading fluency at their respected grade level. Students that were in my classroom who were not reading at grade level and had IEP goals in the area of reading were reading at least 2 grade levels below their grade level benchmark. Students who are low income are 80% below their grade level reading. And this is very important to know because the school that this research took place in is 90% low income. Why I chose this topic. In May 2015, I was looking at my students' reading scores and looking at what we were going to do in the fall when I did do this research. First graders, who are going to soon be the second graders for the fall, were reading at 15 words correct per minute and should have been reading at 53 words correct per minute. In addition, the fourth graders that were soon to be fifth graders for the fall were reading at 65 words correct per minute and should have been reading 123 words correct per minute. I wanted to change how instruction was taught, and I saw a difference how I used technology in my previous district, so I wanted to do some research, and I found successful research with how to implement technology to learn to read sight words. Literature review. Students need to be able to explore new literacies, such as finding something that is relevant to their everyday life, such as technological literacy. This was stated by Jeffron in 2012. He goes on to say that technology literacy offers a variety of skills that every learner can benefit from. These skills are not limited to, but do include thinking, problem solving, and self-direction. These skills help students become more self-motivated, independent learners. Technology gives teachers more opportunities to differentiate their instruction and gauge the interests of the students, but also meet the students' needs at the same time. Technology connects learning from home to school, is what Kylene and North believe. They state that students also have access to tablets and smartphones at home, so this gives the educators an excellent opportunity to use these technologies to connect school and home learning activities. Research shows that technology can improve struggling readers. This is done through something called computer-aided instruction, which was done by Kennedy and his co-authors. Computer-aided instruction offers one-on-one instruction that is self-paced for the student. In their research that they did, the student was in 5th grade and was barely reading at a 2nd grade level. The researchers went into the school conducting research to improve student performance, as well as tutoring this particular student who was diagnosed with ADHD. He gained 1 year's growth in reading within a 6-week time period, with simply changing the instruction and how the instruction was provided. The device did not only help the student focus and showed attention, but it helped the student become more involved in his reading, which is why one reason that after 6 weeks that this student gained 1 year of growth in his reading level. Computer-aided instruction does help all developing readers, but it's known to be more beneficial with students who are low performing. Technology is a tool, is what Wood and Jacques tells us, but it needs to be taught how to use it. Like paper and pencils, technology is a tool. It's what teachers and students do with that tool is what matters. So in order to make iPads successful in the classroom, so that students are able to learn from them, it needs to be implemented the right way. The goal for the researcher here was, I wanted to know, can technology, primarily the iPad use, help students read on grade level? I wanted to see if students could read on grade level, if they can make growth of their reading scores during fall semester, and if the iPad can impact a struggling reader. The participants in this study was a large city school district in Davenport, Iowa. The day went from 7:30 to 2:25, Monday through Friday. There were 475 students. There were 7 second grade students and 11 fifth grade students. All 18 of these students were in a pull-out type program. First, they're general education students, then they go to a special education classroom to work on their goals. There were 5 females and 13 male subjects. The demographics included 2 students who are Hispanic, who are of the Hispanic origin, 1 student who is of Vietnamese origin, 5 students who were of African American origin, and the rest of the students who were Caucasian. Each of these subjects qualified for special education services in my classroom because they were reading below grade level. The materials used for the control group were sight word flashcards, paper and pencil. The experimental group was the iPad, a sight word app called Learn Sight Word Flashcards, as well as Hooked on Phonics app. The 5th grade curriculum was Velocity and Language Exclamation. The 2nd grade curriculum was Reading Mastery. The assessment tools were Dibbles and Read Naturally. Really great reading, Read Naturally. Read Naturally is the picture up at the top right, and Dibbles is the picture on the bottom right of the example. The procedures. This happened in the fall of 2015, the research was taking place. It was a 16-week, September 2015 to December 2015. Treatment was conducted 13 weeks of the research. Mondays, students completed reading fluency probes using Read Naturally assessment tool. Every 2 weeks, students were assessed using Dibbles for their IEP goals. Students were grouped by their IEP reading goals. Control group was paper, pencil, and hands-on. They used note cards as flashcards as a warm-up, and all their curriculum was done through their workbook. They did not have access to the computer like Velocity does use. Experimental group was the iPad. They used for warm-up, Learn Sight Word flashcards as a warm-up, and it was instructed using Hooked on Phonics. The curriculum was instructed for an hour and a half each day for both the experimental group and the control group. The t-test that was used in this case was the independent sample t-test. The independent variable for instruction used was Learning Sight Word Flashcard app and Hooked on Phonics. The dependent variable was the reading fluency. It was measured by Read Naturally and Dibbles. The results showed that it was to attempt to determine if 2nd and 5th grade students who are in special education classroom can increase their reading fluency through technology. So the question was, did technology help students read on grade level? For the 5th grade, there was no significant difference between the control group and experimental groups. The experimental group and the control group both had 5 students. 100% of the students' scores were increased. The mean was 91.4. Standard deviation was 13.58. The control group also had 5 students. 80% of the students' fluency scores increased. The mean was 71.4. Standard deviation was 25.74. The final test score of all students was 1.53, which was greater than the p-value of 0.16. There was no difference because that p-value is greater than 0.05. For the 2nd grade results, again, there was no significant difference between the groups. Experimental group had 4 students, control group had 2. 100% of the students in the experimental group, their fluency scores increased. The mean was 29.25. The standard deviation was 12.69. The control group had 2 students, as I said. 100% of them, their scores did increase as well. The mean was 17.5 and the standard deviation was 12.02. Final test score of all students was 1.08, which was again greater than the p-value of 0.34. And because that t-score was high and the p-value is greater than 0.05, there was no difference. Overall, prior to interventions, both grade levels of the control and experimental groups did have fluency rate below their grade level, and after instruction, 90% of the scores did increase. So even though the hypothesis was not conclusive, because there was no significant difference between the control and experimental groups, both groups did increase their mean scores. Limitations. There were 3 of these: technology, environment, and amount of time the study took place. One limitation was technology as a whole. Technology can be awesome, but it also does have limitations when it doesn't work, such as the internet being down or the device not working. In addition, the timeline was set back a little bit because technology is new to a lot of the students that I had, and so I did have to teach how to use that tool. A second limitation was environment. The school is 90% low income, so this means that environment took a huge role on a lot of the students. A child's day can be go from great to worse fast, or because maybe something happened during the day or class before, or they didn't get breakfast. Something happened before school, and so just you never know, but the environment did play a huge role on many of my students. Lastly, the amount of time the study was taking place. There were very low amount of students that were involved because this is a special education classroom, but if this was maybe a general education classroom, the data could have looked different, as well as if there was a longer amount of time that could be used to research and collect data. For future research needed to see if technology can help students be proficient at grade level over a 2-year span, I recommend that starting this research at a younger grade level so those students can get that grasp of the tool, the iPad, quicker and more experience with it. Additional research should be done using different and a variety of applications to see if the results would be similar or different. For implications, the results of the study were used to guide future lesson plans, IEPs, and changes to curriculum if needed. Data determined that technology is beneficial or not for students with learning disabilities and students with ADD or ADHD. The data compared was the data from the students who struggled using technology and the students who were not using technology. And lastly, results were shared with students' IEP team members as well as administrators. So that means the child's entire IEP team, whether that's speech teacher, occupational therapy, everybody involved received these results. In conclusion, overall, the study suggested technology can make a huge difference on how students learn and how engaged they are, but when technology has to be used the right way, skills are improved. Again, it's a tool. It needs to be taught. If it's used the right way, not just given to the student and walked away, then most likely skills will grow one way or another. Though the results weren't a huge difference between the control and experimental groups, all students improved their reading scores. Here you will find my references. And thank you very much.